Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have Jamie Maslyn Larson from Tohono. We are super excited about this interview. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much for making the time, Jamie. All right, Jamie. We let's start with a little bit about you. I know you came to the museum world from kind of landscape and architecture, and you were at Big, and you were at Westate and Governor Island. So, what made you say yes to 49-acre desert park in Tucson?
Um, well, I've been a landscape architect for over 25 years, and as you mentioned, in private practices. And my my primary goal with my career, or my vision for my career, was basically very simply to connect people to nature. Um, and in particular, in urban areas. So I spent my career working on projects, public space projects, development projects, um, large and small, everything from really small urban parks to 1,000-acre botanic garden projects. And still, the mission through all the diversity of those projects was to have more accessible connections um, available to people of all over, all types, in all sorts of economic conditions, in all sorts of spaces. And I had a really great career in that. I have always been, um, I guess, driven to succeed in that, but also driven to meet my mission. And and that comes from my heart, that comes from a place of feeling a lot of benefits from nature myself personally, and also just seeing how people light up and how connections happen when people are outside. And
Can
um,
can
yeah.
I how did you get into that in the first place? Like when you were younger, when you were like, okay, were you not a teenager? Did you love parks? And it's like, how did this came about?
Well, I grew up in a suburban planned community in Phoenix, Arizona. It was very designed. Um,
Okay.
it was mirrored after a small town. So it had a little main street, and it had nice bike systems, and it had formal boulevards and little streets. It's very much a planned community, done well. However, in terms of the natural world, there was no desert there. I lived in Phoenix, which is the Sonoran Desert, and it was all imported plants. It was orange trees and palm trees and turf grass. Um, so anyway, my childhood wasn't really about nature. It was understanding the social, like that design could foster social connections, and make it really easy for a kid to grow up in a town. But then when I went to college, it was in Flagstaff, Arizona, which was at 7,000 feet. It had pine trees. And I guess I just got connected with a group of people that were really outdoorsy and took me on hikes. And Northern Arizona is so beautiful. And
Amazing.
I would say I just had this, like, I just was opened up to a whole nother world of how nature can make you feel great.
Which
And
is like completely like, yeah, because it's like, yeah, you can actually ski in Arizona. It's like, what?
yeah, yeah, and mountain bike, and I tried all these new things, and I was just like, I had no idea this exists. So I was really into design, and I was really into environment, and it just made sense that I would do landscape architecture. Um, and I never wanted to do anybody's homes. I never ever, like, I remember at my first job, I even told my bosses, like, I don't want to work on a college campus because I don't think that's really public space. It's for
Ooh.
privileged people, who get to afford to go to college. So I was really arrogant. But anyway, I I believe in the health and healing and again, the community properties. So I didn't want to work like on preserving nature or restoring nature. It was very much focused on people and nature.
So what
So
was your first job?
my first job was in Denver, Colorado, at a design practice that had landscape architecture and urban design together. So it was, and
So you
Denver's
just got
great.
into it. You
I
were
totally got
lucky.
into it. Denver was a great city. There was a lot happening. It was very walkable, bikeable, fun city. Um, and I got to work with some really good projects right off the bat. The key with that job was that I got to work with some um, really exciting architects. I got to work with Moshe Safdie, um, and sort of got me like understanding like the broader world of design and like how important it is to have a philosophy and a design approach and you know how important design is to the creation of space, like having an identity,
And
having
so Jamie, and how did the Toronto came? Like the opportunity, how did it
Mhm.
present?
Yeah, that it seems totally different, right? So
Were you in
had
Arizona when that happened?
I had a great career in New York City for about 16 years. Then the pandemic happened, and my husband and I were living like in the Hudson Valley, uh, just kind of like isolated, like everybody else was. But at that time, what we were really missing in our lives was I was working on projects all over the country, and at that time I was working at Bjarke Ingels Group, so I was working on projects all over the world, really exciting, amazing projects. But what happened as I grew further and further in my career and became sort of like higher and higher, in terms of my position, I got further and further away from people and also design. Like I wasn't drawing anymore, and the communities I was working with, I couldn't talk to the people that frequently. I just and I didn't know who they were. It wasn't, I wanted to just work in my own town, I really wanted to know the people, and to also sink my teeth into a site and watch a transformation happen, like in real detail, sort of slow down the whole design process, take it from like, oh, you've got 4 months to what would happen if I had, 10 years on one place. So just my husband and I decided to move to Tucson, and we didn't really know what we were going to do, but my family was here. And 8 months later, this job came up, and it was meant to
Did they
be.
did they did they did you knew somebody from the board that offered the job, or like did they somebody's like, oh, she came to town? It's like, oh, let's take
No,
advantage.
it was difficult. I've never run a nonprofit, and I've worked with nonprofits, and I've worked on really complicated projects. I've worked on very high stakes, high dollar projects, as along with running organizations that had very large budgets. But running a nonprofit, I had zero experience in. So, what I and I was aware of that there was going to be candidates that would have a lot of nonprofit management. But more or less, what I pitched was, I can see this garden is like almost just like a 5-minute walk from my house, so it was easy for me to visit. As a landscape architect, I was able to see the condition of the of the horticultural collection. I could see the way that the place has evolved over time, and how there wasn't a nice sense of arrival. It was confusing to get around. You Things were kind of decaying. Buildings needed to be repaired. There was just a long list of physical opportunities, but then I also saw that and understood that their audience was very homogenous, as a lot of botanic gardens are, older, wealthier folks, who are actually the bedrock of support for botanic gardens. But at the same time, I thought, wow, the programs that are happening here are need some diversifying. We need to bring in some new programs to bring in new audiences, so that it was meeting its mission goals, which was to really try to be a public, to be a community space for Tucsonans. And if you're only, you know,
Yeah, and
uh,
Arizona is it's a diverse state.
it's very diverse. Yeah. So if you're not meeting that aspect, so I just simply showed some projects I did and some transformations that we did, some of the botanic garden work that I worked on. And I said, look, if you want a nonprofit manager, I get it, but it's not me. But if you want somebody who's going to transform the gardens and the experience here and bring in new audiences, I'm your person. So I made a very binary choice. And,
It reminds me of I remember we were working with some consultants, and a consultant will come in and just tell you about themselves and stuff like that. But I remember this consultant just probably wasn't the same. But he just came and like this, like he asked me a bunch of questions, then destroyed my operation. And I was like, "You're hired." It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, where I was, where the organization is it was somebody's home for a
yeah.
long time, and
Mm.
it grew up very piecemeal, which is charming and really really important. But of course, the national work I'd done with other botanic gardens, I just knew that there was so much opportunity
Yeah,
to, not to really retain the aspects that are charming and so beloved, but also modernize it, so that it didn't, what's that phrase, like, change is always happening. You're either in charge of it or it happens to you. And so I was just like, let's be in charge of the change, because we should be.
absolutely. You named the 3 year strategic plan like returning to our roots. And
Mhm.
so, what did you mean by that? Because it was also a lot of changes. It's super interesting.
Yeah, our strategic plan was long overdue. The previous one was about 10 years prior, and um, I think that what I did when I first came here was really try to read as much as I could about Dick and Jean Wilson, who were the folks who founded this place. And they were hardcore environmentalists. I mean, they probably wouldn't have labeled themselves that, but they were a part of that movement in the,
Just let
70s,
it go.
80s. And what they did was they gave all their private land, instead of doing what everybody does, is just give it to their kids. They donated it to us along with some money to start the organization. So they were real champions of the Sonoran Desert preservation. They were also very much into showcasing and celebrating Southern Arizona arts. But
Oh, okay.
the last piece that I thought was fascinating was that they were always inviting people into this land, even before it opened as Tohono Chul. They had a bookstore, and they would let people, check out books and just take them into the desert. And they were making these trails, and so they were always inviting people into their private land. Like, imagine, like, people put up walls and barriers, and they don't want people on their land. Of course, it was a different time, but anyway, so to me, the nexus of um, their environmental attitude, um, the showcasing of cultural arts, and the invitation to let everyone in to enjoy this space and be here was what I meant by returning to our roots. And I think some of what happened, and it's just what normally happens, is things just kind of become regular and routine, and we wanted to kind of shake it up a little. and also put more clarity around those expectations. So what does it mean to be an environmental champion? Well, turns out our we had really bad irrigation systems here. We were wasting a lot of water, you know. So one of the first things we did was this whole comprehensive water uh, conservation assessment and plan, so that we are really being wise stewards, you know, of water and walking the walk. We became dark skies compliant. You know, all of our lighting was just, you know, we're part of a dark skies area, but we didn't have light fixtures and we weren't doing lighting strategies where it was compliant. Like these things were like, how can we be saying that we're environmental champions, but we're not? So picking these things off really quickly was important. Um, and then of course, like bringing people in has been a big focus as
Mm.
well.
Yeah, that's a good segue because um and I just want to tell the audience how I got to chance to interview Jamie. We we were doing business with another botanical garden, like a neighbor botanical garden, and Jamie's team has been like looking around for systems for museum management systems and cultural institution management systems, and which is like, hey, we're gonna decide we're gonna go visit it, and one is the place is amazing, um, and you could have seen me like, oh, nodding when you were talking about the art, because then when you go to the shops, like there's like three different shops in different areas, and so there's a lot of um, like local art that is going on there. There is a huge mural which is breathtaking, right? Um, and and so it's definitely such a wonderful place to just walk and just to visit. It was one of the highlights of our trip. Um, and was something that called our attention. So as we were talking with Jamie's team, um, it was interesting to see when we were talking a little about like the demographics, the transformation, the demographics, and the spike that you had in your visitation because you went from 52,000 visitors to 92,000 visitors the following year. So it's like doubling that. And then just like tripling the children. So you went from a senior audience to now like a very mixed, because obviously when children comes they don't come alone, they come with families and they come with other aspects. So how did you manage all these things when you were talking to it's like, oh, it's just like, yeah, very senior population, affluent and stuff like that, but Tucson and Arizona, it's a diverse population, both demographic, both in economic places. So how did it help how this started?
Um, well, I always made it clear, and it's really important to note that we never wanted to um, take anything away from our current loyal group, you know, so like nothing should be, you know, subtraction, it's all addition. And so we always kept the programming that made our loyal audience come. Um, but I started in February, and so summer was coming, and I think this was the big first move that I made, which was you know, it's hot in summer in Tucson, right? And I grew up in Phoenix, so I remember summers growing up. You stayed inside all day and then you went out at night. That was the only time you could play, really. And so I said, well, why don't we try some summer programs that are in the evenings, because the organization also hardly ever did evening programs. That we were 8 to 5 every day of the year, you know, no seasonal changes. So I said, let's try this out. Let's experiment. Let's hire some bands. Let's get some DJs. Get our restaurant on site to have some, you know, grill some Sonoran dogs or tacos. Get some, you know, refreshments. And let's see if people come and hang out. And we called it Chillin' at the Chul. Um,
And
So
it was like a little pilot, like just like an experiment.
it was an experiment, but we experimented for the whole summer. So it was all summer. It was like, 12 weeks, I think, that first year, every Friday and Saturday night. Um, and uh, we also on Saturdays asked the Children's Museum of Tucson to come and do children's programming. So,
At night.
yeah. So we opened at it was from 6 to 9, and it was insanely popular. We had over almost 12,000 people come, over 12 weeks. So we had nights that were pushing, 500 people. And we're talking about like
What was like your team like at that moment?
oh my God, everybody was so nervous because nobody had ever done anything like this. And, our marketing person at that time, she was like, nobody's going to come. It's too hot. And I was like, I know they'll come because I grew up in Phoenix and this is what we did. We went out at night. And what else is there to do at night? And you're sort of in cabin fever in the summer here, but in reverse. So you're locked inside all day and we have a beautiful garden, and one of the things we wanted to tell people is like because of our trees, it's actually cooler here. It's 10 degrees cooler, so get out and come together.
So
Um,
the trees, some of the trees were already there because I know you planted more, right?
Yeah, we're
Um,
planting a lot of
and
trees.
yeah, just for people who've never been to Arizona, because I had the opportunity to spend like I don't know, like a year there, back I don't know 2007, and it was super interesting because you when it's in the summer you go and it's so hot you don't actually sweat because like it evaporates like right there. It's like because I go like I was going from Miami, it's like
Right.
you in the summer, you go from your apartment to the car and you're already sweating.
Yeah.
And it's like you actually don't feel the hot, but if you're out there, you should get burned if you're not careful. And it's like and the pools will like go super down in like they will evaporate to like the half, like in a
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
That is actually very interesting. And yeah, like so at night, is yes where you go out.
Yeah, but if it's 95 degrees here, if you're in the shade, it actually feels awesome.
Yeah.
Like you adapt, you
Yeah.
adjust. But, I think it's more like even when it was 105 at night, people came. And it's a testament to the resiliency and toughness of Tucsonans, but also that people really they want to enjoy life and they want to be in a place where they can relax and be with friends and all of those great community aspects that are, just a part of being a human, having a great life as a human. Um, so it was, and I would say like we overstaffed it in the beginning. Like we probably had like 6 employees every night. And then we relaxed and we realized there's really nothing to do. We just let people walk around and enjoy the food and empty the trash at night. So it was
So the first night, like it was a surprise how many people came, like the first few nights.
the first few nights was pretty light. It was, a few hundred people, but we were blown away. We were so happy.
Yeah.
We thought that was it, but then um, it became a thing, and I think the numbers have obviously they dip a little when it's hot, but the numbers have been very consistent, and it's still free. It's our gift to Tucsonans.
The folks
It's
in.
really like you deserve this. It's we have a lot of snowbirds who go back to wherever they're from, but these are the hardcores. And like I said, like we what was amazing was the diversity. As you pointed out. It was almost like we had a lot of regulars, some of our seniors and everything. They came out for sure, but we also had teenagers and a lot of little kids and a lot of different, ethnicities and folks. I had one person come up to me um, she just came up to me. I had my name tag on. She came up to me and she just looked at me in the eyes and she said, "Thank you for doing this for us." And she was alone. She meant us
Yeah,
as everybody that was there. I was like, it's my
that's
pleasure.
incredible. So, and and that is the whole point of like just experimenting and seeing these surprises, and that's, I mean, that is so key in everything, right? Like in every operation, whether it's a cultural or nonprofit or just a business, like just doing these little experiments that just drive drive incredible results.
I think
Um,
experiments, and I would just say, like, we had to do something that also was like putting our name out there. I mean, we were off the map for all those people that were coming. They didn't know what Tohono was. They
right.
didn't have they might have heard of it, but most people in those demographics or those areas, like we hadn't been doing anything for them, so there's no reason to know us. So it was really important in those first years with all these experiments that we were making impression on them that helped, and the mural is another example of that. It's um, I don't know if we'll talk about it later, but it's another one of those things which is like, please see yourself here. You
Yeah.
know, you are welcome here. It has to be intentional. You have to make it clear. We want you here and we're going to do things to you for you to make you feel welcome.
And Jamie, so you said, the beginning of our interviews, it's like, oh, we started as I came here from this kind of designer perspective, but not the nonprofit part of things. How is that financial roller coaster?
It's still happening. Um, I mean, one of the things that is different, obviously different about having a nonprofit is the amount of work you have with donors on their private, kind of contributions, um, which is I guess in a certain way a bit unfamiliar because I always had clients.
Yeah, you had
I
your
had
budget.
I had to listen to my clients and make them happy, and try to get fees from them, and try to have them understand like what it takes to do the work we have to do. So, but now it's of course trying to explain why we're doing the things we're doing and the meaning and impact that we're having. So the pitch is just different. The things that we've been doing is as you mentioned, we've been doing a lot of work here, both in terms of programs, but also just trying to physical improvements to the gardens. So um, I think I love the phrase, the proof is in the pudding. Because I want to, one of the things that I like really want to have happen is for people to visually see the impact that they're having on our organization. A lot of times when they're making pitches for nonprofits, it's for the operations. And I understand that, but I'm also like, we want to build things and we want to bring programming that's very dynamic. So a lot of our work with our donors has been around some of the physical improvements. But the other thing that I think is helpful for my background for Tohono Chul is in earned revenue. So that that may not be everybody's expertise, but I've worked with, I've had a lot of private development work, and I really understand from my background working with parks, knowing that earned revenue um, is basically how cities and institutions support parks maintenance and programming. So it's been a trend for about 20 years that a lot of any large park project now has to look at where is there a restaurant? How do we have earned revenue in this
They
park?
have like
There's
weddings and
exactly.
things that are
Um,
going to bring some money for the yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
right. I mean, there are no the world of like grants and government support
It's
is no
over.
longer, you know. So we're 100% reliant on our donors and earned revenue. Um, and so what we've been working on, and you saw our shops, and but what we've been working on is some of the long-term work now, with our master plan on how to create more earned revenue opportunities. And you know, all that's in the hope that in the vision that our earned revenue can be more sustainable for our daily operations and programming, and our contributions can focus more on the mission work. So, but it took a while to get my head around it.
Well, I think it's um it's interesting because the more sometimes I talk about fundraising, we have these encounters between kind of the private practices and the nonprofit practices, right? Which sometimes, I don't know, sometimes at least to me, they don't make any sense. Like it's like for some
It's a
people,
tax status, you know.
yeah, and for some people it's like, oh, it's like, oh, we have this great fundraising, but this person perhaps needs commission. And it's like, no, we don't pay commissions because we're a nonprofit. And it's like, but this person can do a lot of good for the organization. Like, why this person could not get paid? It's like, well, it's because people will say that. And I'm like, but it will bring more talent and it will bring more things. And so there are all these things that sometimes, coming from the private perspective is just kind of crazy because it's like, you know, to me, it's like, oh, the fundraisers are the salespeople of the organization in a certain way, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and so it's like getting to that commission fight is like, oh, okay. Like in the private world, like you can have sales guys like you're getting no commission. Like, wait, what? So it is interesting. What was one of those things that surprised you that you're like, this is interesting. Like like these practices, okay.
You mean with regard to
Just
the spike?
managing, yeah, like that you thought it's like, oh, I didn't expect this. Didn't
Okay,
expect
okay,
this
I've got it.
problem.
I've got it. You know, and this is no shade on my team, but I I um I am a designer, so I think like in a certain way. You know, I've been trained my whole life, and everybody I talk to is thinks the exact same way. So we have, you know, the roles are very clear in a design firm. The process is very clear, you know, of each stage of design. And when I came here, I just, of course, now I'm working with a bunch of people that don't have that same training.
Yeah,
So I had to adjust, I had to almost like learn a new language and also um, have people understand my language in
yeah,
how I think and how I operate. So the operations part has been a real evolution. Really simply is like when I started, there were a lot of silos, right? Retail did retail, arts did art, engagement did engagement. But there wasn't this like um, thought of like, well, what's the guest experience as all those come together? And how do we grow and enhance that and modify that and tweak that collaboratively, you
yeah,
know, as one space? Because from the guest point of view, they're not like, oh, this is the retail, oh, this is the art, this is the engagement. They're experiencing it as one thing.
right, right.
So that was really you know, trying to make these and an example of like doing chillin' at the Chul, we would say, retail, what are you doing? You know, engagement, what are you doing? Art, what are you doing? And because they in their mind would have thought of that as a public program, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
nope, we're all doing something on this. So, but it really, I think, got everybody energized. It was probably confusing at first, but really energized and excited to collaborate and to see the benefit of that collaboration with how happy guests were and the number of people that were coming and the improved earned revenue. It's like, look what you did. This is awesome. Like it's because you did it collaboratively. But again, I think I still stumble over the language and the processes. Um, um, and I mean, they've had a lot of patience with me, so
How's the relationship with the board?
I have a great board. Again, they had to uh, I think that the previous executive director, she had, she was amazing and she also had a lot of success, but she worked with the board very differently than I did. I was like, "Hey, let's collaborate. Let's I didn't want to report out. I wanted them to be co-creating the vision, the strategic plan, and now the master plan, so that there were, which is really what the board should be doing. I recognize the role of the board from my previous work, and I basically was like, I want you to work, with me. Really, it's going to be a lot of work. You all right with that? And um, they were excited about the vision, and they have definitely, they are a very hardworking board, and they're energized and excited, and it's a good checks and balances too.
Yeah.
As you might guess, sometimes I get a little overexcited about things, and they encourage me to slow down. Um, and occasionally
Which is
I,
not happening from what I saw. So it is very interesting because yeah, sometimes I mean I can tell you in the private world there are boards that are like, oh yeah, we'll see each other like next quarter. I was like, no, 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 man. It's like I'll talk to you next week.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like, okay, how are we? And you talk, they're pretty much kind of like just another colleague in the work environment, like a good board relationship can become
they
like
are
that.
great. And we have now, bef before I would say we've diversified our board as well. So now we have, I mean, remarkably, there was maybe just one or two board members that were had jobs. Now we have uh, five or five board members that have full-time jobs. So we have to work with them and their workload. And we have a tribal member, a member of the Pasquiyaki tribe. We have um, two Hispanic board members. So we we've improved our demographics. Our age limit has gone down. By our average age is down a little lower because we want folks that are representing all the voices of Tucson.
How did, sorry to ask you, because that is so interesting. Like how did that board had changed so radically?
Well, I had the first board chair. She was an artist, and when I joined, she was also. It was her first day as a board chair, so we were just in it together, kind of like learning about the organization and our roles at the same time. And she's an artist, so she's very creative, and I'm very creative, and she just encouraged this creative process to unfold, um, and as opposed to an analytical process or a rigid process. So she she just let me kind of float and learn and have a kind of open time, a little untethered with hardcore, I want 4% increase of this, and then it was just a good onboarding in that way. And then we also were doing tons of outreach to recruit new board members and having a process that we just flat out told people, like, right out front, like, this is what our expectations are, and we want you to be a part of this unbelievable transformation. But we do have expectations, and so bit by bit, we've brought the existing board members along, and also recruited new board members, bit by bit. And so I would say that it was an unbelievable gift that the first board chair was kind of, I
In
guess, like,
the learning process with you.
yeah, and very inspiring person. Um, Imagine, here's this, I don't know if I would behave as, with so much trust. And that trust was on, they hired me and they wanted me to do these things, but like it took a lot of courage for them to just let me try these things out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what's cool that you mentioned is that, sometimes I think that we do forget that just running whatever we're running, it's also a creative process. And it's also about imagination and trial and error and things that work and things that don't work. And so that is it's very beautiful to hear from in the context of the creation and the renovation of a museum or a park. Um,
Absolutely.
I
Like
love
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to really emphasize that, like, because of my career, I have been able to take sketches and see things built. So there's a lack that I don't really have fear in that way. Like, I know that there's going to be changes during the design process and the construction process, and even after you get it built, you have things that you didn't know would happen because people weren't, you can't imagine how people are going to use space. So like, I don't have fear around trying new things at all. I think everything is an experiment, and you learn from it and you evolve and you evolve and evolve. And I mean, I, of course you have to be cautious around money and, you know, kind of burn out of your team, but like, um, it's an incredible, I would encourage anybody who wants to run a botanic garden is to become a landscape architect.
absolutely. So, but you know what? I was interesting. I'm actually reading something about it. But it's like people people need two things to get whatever they want done, and one is confidence in themselves, in that they can do um, whatever they do. And actually, this is something that I'm trying to change my managerial style because as a head of organization, sometimes you it seems like the brain cannot process at the same time like the firefighting and the empathy type of side of things.
Oh God, yeah.
Like you cannot do both of things. Like it's like, or I'm gonna put out this fire, or I'm just going to be empathetic. But I cannot do both. And the brain, it seems like the brain cannot do, like you can do both. Like it's like trying to drive with both feet, right? And but I'm trying to change my manager's sound, saying it's like, hey, every time that I talk to somebody, uh, I need to make sure that you know that you can do this, that I trust you that you can do this, I need to give you the confidence because I didn't do that so much, like in the past with putting fires. Sometimes you do that. And so it is very interesting. What you said is because I can see it, that the confidence that you have, and it's like, I'm gonna try this. And I don't give a fuck if it doesn't work. Sometimes it will fail, and that's okay. It's part of the process. And then I learned something, and then I did it. So having that part, um, about the confidence and the discipline, right? That's the other
Yeah.
part that you need to.
Oh, you have to have, yeah, because confidence without discipline is arrogance or
It's kind of
reckless.
arrogant, yeah.
It's reckless.
It's reckless.
So, we, I think it might, it's really good advice that you're giving me about how, I mean, I think, I guess I appear confident, and I am pretty confident, but it's you know, it's only because of the work that I've done, but I guess,
The
I think
stars.
you bring a great point, which is like, um, I remember, 10, 15 years ago when I thought everything I was doing was like not good enough. So I'm going to do that more. I'm going to really try to support the team and making them feel like they've got it too.
Yeah, by the way,
It's funny because I almost never doubt that they have it. I'm not thinking,
yeah.
oh, they're,
Yeah, but
I,
it is also something that is because it's kind of painful that when I see the back, it's like, I didn't give this person the confidence. And sometimes when you hear other leaders and you're like, yeah, I have this person who trusted me to do this, and now because of that person, I'm here. I'm like, oh, I need to do that better. So sometimes
yeah.
like I personally failed sometimes at that. Um, what's your definition of a successful botanical garden?
Mm. Well, I mean, there's a lot of diversity in botanic gardens, right? I mean, in terms of what their mission is and what their focus is, and their size and their location. I mean, some are very rural, some are very urban, some are tiny. Um, and for us, we have a really, I think, just a sweet spot where we are 49 acres in size. So we're pretty, I would say, I guess that's called mid-size.
Mhm.
But 49 acres is nice because you can walk around the whole garden, in a couple hours. We're also really central. We're not in downtown Tucson, but we're in central metropolitan area of Tucson. So we have a lot of access for people to reach us. And we also have an array of amenities for our guests. So, as you already mentioned, we have a museum, we have a restaurant, we have great retail, we have these, collection gardens, we have programs with music, and it's like we have a children's museum. So we have such a diversity of offerings that I've kind of envisioned Tohono Chul being like Tucson's great third place. Tucson's. I want to say Central Park, but that's almost like, a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about when I say Central Park because they just think of a big park. But
Yeah.
what I mean is like what a democratic place is, like a place where you can come and, I lived in New York, so I know what Central Park was for me, which you just like once you step into that garden, into that park, the city's behind you.
People
You're
people
you
don't
are
get
in a
it. Yeah.
leisure relaxing zone, So like this vision of having people come and leave their cares behind and just be in a beautiful garden where you can be with friends and family, you can drink a glass of wine or have a nice delicious bite to
Which
eat.
you can do in Central Park.
I know. And this gets back to the Wilsons because this was literally what Jean Wilson said. She was like, I would like people to come, stay for a few hours, and maybe learn something. It was the most humble and it wasn't like too heady or intellectual. It was just about enjoyment,
Enjoyment.
enjoying life, enjoying the pleasures of life. And, there aren't, honestly, there's just not that many places to do it anymore,
Yeah,
without paying a
absolutely.
huge price. And so much of our worlds are about technology or entertainment. If you have a kid, you take them to these these places in strip malls where they get to jump on bouncy castles, but like when
Yeah.
do they get to just run around and be free? You've got to go to ballet, you've got to go to soccer, you've got to do all this. But when can kids be free? So like we want to be that place for kids, but for all ages.
Jamie, there's a couple of things that um, one of your team members told me this story that was really cool and really moving about one of the things that you did is so there was this person in a wheelchair
Hmm.
that you know, he would have like always like the same route, and then you open like another route, and he's like, and he was so excited because he could see other parts of the park now because of the accessibility part of things. It's one of those stories that it was very moving. It was very cool to have that perspective from a person with limited access, which is again like really cool. Um, the
Yeah,
other part,
accessibility is a big deal. You know, with 49 acres, only about 5.5 acres is really accessible to people with, mobilities, or even like,
mm.
baby strollers. And it's really important that our garden is more open and inviting and
So
physical.
so Jamie, what's your largest favorite botanical garden and your smallest and the smallest favorite botanical garden?
um well, I I worked for many years with Longwood Gardens in southeastern Pennsylvania. Um, it is a 1,000-acre botanic garden. It's large. It's the largest. And when I was at West State, we did the master plan for it, and it was their first ever master plan. And their CEO, Paul Redmond, was is so brilliant. He's still there. He's he did he was really my guy. He's really like the person I think about when I think about Tohono Chul's future, because he did so much to bring the historic structures back to their glory, to bring more opportunities for different people to come. I mean, the visitation went like that, and the revenue went like that, and the experience and the quality went like that under his domain. Um, and and it's also a garden that was started by a person, and that's where Tohono Chul is also. They're started by a couple, so it's like a personal vision of a person who had a big vision, 150 years ago or whatever. Um, so I love Longwood Gardens. For a small garden, it's got to be the ethnobotanic garden in Oaxaca.
Okay.
Yeah. That is right in the center of town of Oaxaca, and it's a former, gosh, I might get this wrong, but it's like a former institution, like a some kind of
Like a building.
yeah, like there's some old buildings that were like maybe like military use, but
Okay.
over time, they have grown that garden into being so vivid and so iconic and just of the place. There's no place on the planet that could be than Oaxaca. And the only thing they do there is show off the plants. So it's the opposite of Longwood. There isn't a restaurant. I don't even remember a gift shop. So it's so plant focused, and every place is iconic, and it's all about plants. And the other thing that I love about it is there's not one single sign. There's no signs in it. You can only either just walk through it and feel it, or you can have a docent tour, and then they'll tell you what you should know about it. So I love it. I loved it so much. They're really
Oh,
different.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, now we know. We know you gave me two places to visit. Um, so I think that you answered the question about, if there was another leader that we should talk to about botanical gardens. I guess is the park in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well, you should. He's I don't know. I think of him as like he's just a yeah, mentor for a lot of us. And the Botanic Garden world is also just a very friendly welcoming group. Um, uh, There's no competition, if you will, which is really nice.
Yeah,
People give us, they've mentored me a lot. The whole community has. So I could
that's
help you with a few
amazing.
other names.
That's amazing. Jamie, it has been a pleasure. It has been a
Oh,
pleasure. This was a super great conversation. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people will get a lot of these of don't worry, believe in yourself, go and try things.
do it.
See what sticks. It's okay. You will fail sometimes. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Have high expectations and, you know, you can, if you get 75% of what you're trying for, that's huge success, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well, thank you.
whatever brings it more, right? Like whatever helps them get better, it works.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's fun to reflect back and think about how my career has led to this
It's
great
crazy and
career.
it's amazing. And your team, they they were like, oh man, this woman goes so fast.
Yeah,
But it's
there,
good. It's good. An institution goes as fast as it leaders, as it leader. If the leader goes slow, then the institution goes slow. Same as the
yeah.
business.
I think that once everybody saw that I wasn't that it was really about the mission for me and the Wilsons, a lot of there was a lot of enthusiasm for some of the things we're doing. So yeah, I appreciate my colleagues so much.
Yeah, they
Thank you.
certainly they love working for you. That you could tell, you could just tell by the way they expressed about the changes and the excitement about the project. It was like, and now we're gonna do this, and then next year, and here's what we're doing here, and look at the mural, and it was a blast. It was a blast, Jamie. It was
That's
it
great
was
to
it
hear.
was
I
it
hope
was very refreshing. It was very inspiring. So that's a testament for your work and your team's work.
thank
Jamie,
you.
thank you so much.
Look forward to our future together.
All right.
All
Talk to
right,
you
bye
later. Bye
bye.
bye. So, first, thanks for listening, watching, and spending some time. We hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. And if you'd like to catch more episodes of the Cultural Dilemmas, the Museum Leadership Lab, please share and subscribe to the podcast. And you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, or you can listen to it on Spotify, or rewatch the full episode on YouTube. Yes, I'm reading the thing. And then also, make sure to follow me, Mark, on LinkedIn and Facebook and X and whatever other social media thing we're going to put this down. And we'll be sharing more content and inviting other leaders from the museum and cultural industry. We definitely want more culture and more museums everywhere. So until then, please take care of my friend, and then we'll see you soon. Bye bye.